It's time for the Georgia State Sports Update. Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome into this week's show, the Georgia State Sports Update. And we're talking basketball this week. Going to talk to Sharon Baldwin-Tenner, the women's coach, a little later. But right here to my left, pleased to have in studio the men's basketball coach here at Georgia State. That's Ron Hunter. Coach, welcome. Great to have you in studio, and season moving right along. I can't believe 2/3 behind us already.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're in February right now, and that home stretch and getting ready for a conference tournament.
Well, we were just kidding on this last road trip to Arkansas State and Arkansas Little Rock with the way the league is shaping up this year. That's not the state to go to when you're trying to get your basketball team well, or you're on the road looking for a win. We came close both places, an overtime loss and then a close loss at Little Rock.
Yeah, we're playing well at home, and we're struggling a little bit on the road, you know, and that happens with what I call inexperienced team. I don't know for a young team, but inexperienced because of the guys that need to be able to make plays at the end. We're making shots at home that we're not making on the road, so we still got to be able to do that. But again, I think we're going to be okay. You know, in a season you have your ups and you have your downs, kind of like in a game. And we kind of came out the gates really firing, really ready to go, and we've kind of hit a lull really since Christmas. We had a bad January, one of the worst Januaries I've had in coaching in a long time. And so I'm glad this month is over. So we run into February, and you want to be playing your best basketball just starting right now.
Well, we had that rare 5-game homestand, which you just rarely ever see within conference play. Of course, the back end of that, and we went 4-1, excuse me, at home. The back end of that is we've played the last 3 on the road. Yeah,
it's weird. A lot of teams are having it. The Louisiana schools have just come off playing 4 or 5 in a row, and now they go back on the road. And so it's kind of weird that you're having that, and maybe because we've got what they call that lone wolf scheduling this year, it's kind of forced it a little bit. But again, you know, you got to play the games, and now everybody's played it one time through. Now let's see what happens the second time through if the standings remain the same.
One of your predecessors, Coach Derzell, used to tell me all the time, good teams win on the road. He made there was a line in the sand. There was a distinction between good teams that mainly win at home and struggle to win on the road, and really good teams that can win in both places. And there's a mental toughness that goes more so, I think, with being able to win on the road than maybe at home.
Yeah, and that's something since I've been here, we've actually been very good at going on the road with all of our teams. This team has struggled a little bit with that, and I think Coach is right. It is a mental toughness, but the difference between having a great year and a good year is winning on the road, and that's what we've been able to do. Our teams here has been tremendous at going on the road and winning. We just haven't. This group hadn't kind of find its niche. We've played very close games and have chances, but we just hadn't been over the hump. And a lot of that is having that one guy that can carry your team the last 4 or 5 minutes. So when you need that basket, we just haven't had that. We've had some guys having individually great years. Kevin Ware having a great year. Yeah. I think TJ, for the most part, is having a great year, but not enough to lead a group. And Jeremy, being our leading scorer, has been inconsistent on the road.
All right, Arkansas State was the first stop in this most recent road trip through the state of Arkansas. And this is a game that would fall under the category of woulda, coulda, shoulda. Ended up going overtime. The Panthers lose it 75-69.
Yeah, if you look at really both games in Arkansas, we have a lead both times. We could never extend our leads, whether it's a 7-point lead to make it 14 or a 3-point lead to make it 10. And those are possessions, those 4 or 5 possessions, you know, you end up talking about the end of the game, but it's those 4 or 5 possessions where you win the game, where you can extend the lead. And whether it's a missed free throw here or there, a timely turnover off the foot, or just missing open shots. And when Jeremy fouled out, he had it really rolling in the second half at Arkansas State. And then when he fouled out with 5 minutes to go, it just, we couldn't get a basket, you know, the last 5 minutes from the guy, and that was a struggle right there for us. But even that, we still have an opportunity at the free throw line, make 2 free throws, you go home with the win, and we didn't do it.
You mentioned tough to lose one of your starters, your go-to guys. He still had 15 points and 5 rebounds in only 22 minutes, which is a low number of minutes. And you just mentioned TJ. TJ, by a bucket, misses a double-double, 8 points, but more importantly, 11 rebounds.
Yeah, TJ's playing well. He's given us all that he has. I mean, if you'd asked me if TJ could have done this at the beginning of the year, I thought we would win 25 easy. The inconsistency as our point guard play, we have to continue to get that better. Yeah. We've had some highs and some lows at that position, and that's the one position where you have to have consistency. You can't have the ups and downs that we've had in that position, because that's a struggle. That's like having a quarterback and you're having highs and lows at that position. That determines how well you're going to win games, especially on the road. You can get away with that at home. But on the road is when you really got to have that play come in, and we just haven't been consistent at that play, at that position.
Well, against Arkansas State, Kevin Ware, 14.6 rebounds, but he shot 3 of 11. He did really well from the free throw line, 8 of 10. And then another one of the guys who you look to, for that consistent outside shooter, and I underline the word consistent, mainly because he's a freshman, but that's Jeff Thomas. He was 1 of 11.
Yeah, Jeff is having the inconsistent years, but really Kevin's a 2 guard. Kevin's not a point guard.
Right.
And so really at that point guard, Isaiah Williams, Isaiah Dennis, they've got to give us a little bit more from that position from a consistent level, not necessarily the scoring, but just making sure that we get in our stuff and get the right thing. Jeff has been kind of up and down. Malik had a great game the other night. But the freshmen are going to be that. That's why I don't rely on freshmen too much, because I think that freshmen, they're going to have their ups and their downs in that regards. But some of the other guys, we've got to have more consistency with them.
And Coach, we talk all the time in your radio shows about I think these games were a good example where defense sometimes is making up where we struggle offensively. On one hand, offensively, we turned it over 19 times, which is way more turnovers than you're comfortable with. On the other hand, 14 steals. So the defense was still, grinding it out right there. And that's what kept this game close.
Yeah. But if you look from our forward position, I think Marcus had 5 turnovers and Jeremy had 3. There's 8 turnovers between guys that shouldn't have. Those are junior and seniors, and that those are bad plays, especially when we're getting extra shots and we're turning you over 14 times. You're supposed to win those games, but again, you're not going to win those games if you don't shoot it well, and then B, you turn it over 19 times, and that's what which has been not a custom of our teams. That's why we've been so good on the road, because we don't turn it over. So we've been so good on the road because we make free throws. Those 2 things we haven't done on the road.
So Georgia State went from an overtime loss in Jonesboro, Arkansas to Arkansas State over to Little Rock for a Saturday night showdown with the number 1 team in the Sun Belt Conference this year. And they are now 19-2 and 9-1 in Sun Belt Conference play. They're kind of playing the role that Georgia State has been in the last couple of years. Did you see that coming on with them the last couple of years? They got a first-year head coach. There's a lot of newness to the program, even with the players that are returning in the program.
Yeah, but the guys that are making a winner are those old guys. I mean, Higgins and those, and then the Woods kid are really good. They're good players. They've been in the league for a few years, but what they've done, the freshness and the newness of that has helped them. They've bought in. They've bought into them defensively. They've bought in offensively. Higgins doesn't take those 4 or 5 bad shots he usually takes, and so now they just kind of believe. And it reminds me of the team we've had a couple of years ago when we won 17-1. They're just winning all types of ways. We get up on them on 3. They're struggling. They get shot clock violations. They don't get rattled. And again, we could have rattled them if we made some shots on the other end, but they went true to who they were, guarded, and get themselves back in the game, made some timely jump shots, and they were able to win the game. And that just reminded me of a team that we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, it reminded me really of your first team, situation-wise, because you came in here, took over the previous regime's players, and won 22 with a group that had never been able to win more than 12. And, here they are having a really good season. It's almost like sometimes they talk about coaches having an impact, and I've now seen it 2 or 3 times in my time at Georgia State. Looks like it's a similar situation at Little Rock.
Yeah, a little bit. That my first year were veteran players. It's a lot easier to do it with veteran players, and his guys that are leading him are veteran players. Yeah. It's really hard to do it when you got new guys and then a new coach, because then everything's too new. And so I think you can see that, his best 2 players are Woods and Higgins. They're guys that have been around. They're seniors. They understand the Sun Belt. And then the coach came in and put a system in. So a lot like what we did, you're right, our first year.
All right, well, let's talk about Little Rock just for a minute. Georgia State trailed this ball game at halftime, 37-28, and very typical Georgia State. The defense digs in, and next thing you know, there in the second half, we got a 3-point lead.
Yeah, we got the lead. I thought our energy was great. I thought we went in there and fought the guys, and that's what I wanted to see. You're coming off 2 really bad losses, games that we should have won, App and Arkansas State, and then you're really down. You had a bad month, and how'd you gonna come in and fight? And I thought our guys really did. Boy, they came out, they fought. Hostile crowd, great environment in there, and we got the lead. Then we went 5 straight possessions where we held them, and 5 straight possessions where we didn't score. And if you just score 3 out of those 5 possessions, now that 3-point lead could be an 8-point lead. And now all of a sudden, that's a whole different basketball game. And we just couldn't get it done. And they stayed inside of 1 possession. If we could have just extended that. But, those are plays, a missed shot in the paint, free throw here or there. But that's just been part of what we've done all year.
Kevin Ware led the way with 17 points, 5 rebounds. Jeremy, 12 and 5. We were talking about freshmen. Malik Ben-Levy played his best game.
Yeah.
He scores a career-high 10 on 5 of 8 shooting from the floor.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific. I thought his energy that he brought was really good. But that's what I mean, the ups and downs of our freshmen in that regard. But you saw a glimpse of how good that kid could really be. He's really talented. He's athletic. He finishes. And so we were really happy to see it because we needed somebody else to step up and make that play. And I'm glad, and Jeff's done that at certain times. Both of our freshmen have kind of done those things when we needed it. It's funny because they both freshmen had their best games on the road. It's weird how freshmen can do that. But again, what we've got to get our consistency from is even if you add it up together, it's not good enough. It's from that point guard position. Isaiah Dennis and Isaiah Williams, they've got to come up. They got to give us more on the road so we can get more production out of that position.
Real quickly, one last thing on Malik, and the one thing that I noticed from the radio side on that, his points weren't necessarily jump shots. I mean, he was going right in, mainly from that left baseline and attacking the basket, even when they had the 6'11" kid out there.
Yeah, his first shot was a 3, and that wasn't. That's not his game.
Right.
He's more of a driver, one dribble pull up, and we kind of talked about especially your first shot. That's not who you are. Don't do that. And all of a sudden the rim gets smaller, and then he started driving the ball, and then they couldn't guard him. I mean, his first step is quick. He's athletic. He can finish at the baseline. He had a couple dribble pull ups in the first half in that regards, so no, we loved his energy. We thought he was really good. Really helped us in that regard. Defensively, his length up at the top caused a problem. Now we can put length on that other side with Kevin, which now we got length on that wings, and that makes our defense even better.
All right, real quick, coming up this week, you're back at home, which we haven't said now for the last 3 games. You got the Texas teams coming in. Texas State, a team the Panthers held to 16 points in the first half out in San Marcos, won that ball game, and that followed a game. We're playing them in the opposite direction this time, but UT Arlington with the Hervey kid beat us by 15 in Dallas, or in Arlington when we were out there.
Yeah, we got to get back, and now we're home. We got to win Thursday. We got to take them one at a time. I always think that when you get into February, it's almost like a month-long conference tournament because you're fighting for position in every game. And so this is kind of when the fun starts in that regards. And so every game becomes kind of like a tournament game. And so that's how we got to approach it. We got to try to take every game as one and just try to be the best we can defensively and score better in transition. If we can get some transition baskets, that'll help some of these other guys see the ball go in. And if we can do that, I think we got a great chance, and especially when we get into March.
All right, again, Texas State, Texas Arlington in the sports arena this week. You ready for some questions from the fans?
Sure. Let's take some questions.
All right, each and every week our questions and the coaches in the hot seat, questions from our Georgia State fans. So right now, here's some questions for Georgia State's head basketball coach, Ron Hunter.
Hi, my name is Ambernique, and I'm a journalism major, and I have a question for you, Coach. Your team has won many games in the sports arena the past couple of years. What do you think has been the key to giving us such a great home court advantage?
One of the great things about playing in a sports arena is our students. I think our students are terrific. I think especially with sell out, it probably makes up about 70% of our crowd. And it's one of the best student environments in the country. You don't necessarily have to have a big arena, but you got to have an environment. And our students helped us create an environment. And that helps us win games. I mean, there's a reason why we win a lot of games here. I think we've won 35 of the last 37 home games. And the reason that is the crowd. Our play has been good, but the student support and the support we get from the city has been tremendous. And it's one of the hardest places, not only in the Sun Belt to play, but in the country.
My name is Taylor Brownlee, and I'm a journalism major. Coach, did you always want to be a coach? And what has kept you in this profession for so long?
Well, I knew I wanted to be a coach from my sophomore year in college. I talked to my college coach and said, hey, I wanted to be able to do that. I remember watching TV one day in a dorm. I was in college, and I saw John Thompson coach on television. And I thought, wow, that's something I would love to be able to do. And start talking to people about being able to do that. Stayed afterwards to get my graduate degree at Miami, Ohio. And sometimes I think that you have to know what your calling is. And this has been my calling, and it's been to coach and be able to help young people. And I think that I've been able to stay this long because, again, I think I am who I am. I've never tried to be John Thompson. I've never tried to be Red Auerbach. I've tried to just be Ron Hunter. Sometimes you get caught up in trying to be somebody else. It's hard enough to be the best Ron Hunter I could be. And if you could be the best person you could be, I don't care what job you have, then you'll be successful at it.
Hello, my name is Leah Strange, and I'm a journalism major. Coach, I know that you've been on a lot of trips around the world with Samaritan's Feet. Is there one trip that stands out more than another?
Yeah, with all the trips that we've taken internationally through Samaritan's Feet, it's been terrific. But probably the one that stands out is probably my first trip to Lima, Peru, where we were giving the shoes to a 7-year-old girl and the next day she was having brain surgery. She had never had a pair of shoes before. Never knew what happened to her after, but I knew that the blessings of giving her her first pair of shoes before she went into surgery was something that every single day I wake up and think about with her. Not necessarily knowing if she's still living today, but the group that I was with, that we were able to give her something the day before she was having surgery. And so for me, that's I'll always remember that day. That's one of those special days for me.
All right, Coach, good questions this week, and you just had a really good Samaritan's Feet event at the Sports Arena, which you host annually. It's one of the games on the schedule. Had a great crowd that night, and that's kind of becoming, well, it has become an annual event here in the Georgia State basketball schedule.
Yeah, it's been terrific, and that's something that we want to continue to do. And again, I have to thank our students. Our students have been terrific in everything we've tried to do in regards to coming to the game. We're supporting Samaritan's Feet. We're supporting our charity in that regard. That's why I love being at Georgia State.
All right, Coach, appreciate it. Let's get a couple of wins with the Texas teams in this week, and we'll see you here next week.
Let's get a win.
All right, I want to thank head coach Ron Hunter. We're going to talk to Sharon Baldwin-Tenner a little bit later on in the show. Busy week coming up in athletics at Georgia State. Right now, let's check the athletics calendar. Here's what's coming up this week at Georgia State. Coming up in athletics at Georgia State, a busy Saturday on February the 6th. It starts with men's tennis. They'll host Lipscomb here in Atlanta. And then back-to-back basketball games. Women's basketball hosting UT Arlington at 12 noon in the Sports Arena, followed by men's basketball hosting the Mavericks of UT Arlington at about 2:30. On Thursday, February the 11th, men's and women's basketball on the road. It'll be a 6 o'clock tip Eastern Time. Women's basketball at South Alabama down in Mobile, followed by the men's team taking on South Alabama there in Mobile at 8 p.m. And that's what's coming up on the calendar here at Georgia State Athletics. And we're back in studio here in the Georgia State Sports Update, and we welcome to our studio the head women's basketball coach at Georgia State, and Sharon Baldwin-Tenner. And Coach, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, the team's just back from the state of Arkansas, right in the middle of Sun Belt Conference play. And as Coach Hunter and I were kidding about on the radio, because they've been struggling a little bit as well, Arkansas has not been the place to go for a team that needs to get better, so to say.
Absolutely. It was a rough trip, no doubt. Two very good basketball teams, and, we've got to put that behind us. We've got 10 games left and move forward.
Let's talk a little bit about the first game of the trip at Arkansas State in the Convocation Center there in lovely Jonesboro, Arkansas. They up winning the basketball game 75-54. Turnovers really the story in that ball game. They took advantage of everything that your team was able to give them.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought for a half we played really well. I thought we would go in down 7. At halftime, we had the ball with 14 seconds left, and we took a quick shot, had a turnover there, tried to get a quick shot, and they scored. So we went down 9, but I thought we were really competing, doing a lot of good things against the best team in the league. The second half, I think we gave out. I think we turned the ball over way too much, and they're too good of a basketball team, especially free throw line above. They were able to get layups and really take advantage of us only having one point guard. Madison Newby got in foul trouble for the first time in her career when we didn't really have a backup point guard. Ashley Cole was having to move over to that position. She's not a true point guard, and I think we struggled getting into some of our offenses.
You know, the numbers there, when we're talking about turnovers, they scored 33 points off of 29 turnovers. If you watch a lot of basketball, you've watched and you've played, that's a huge number. That's way out of the ordinary of what you'll see in a normal game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, this team really has taken better care of the basketball throughout the season than probably any team I've had here, with the exception of that.
Right.
We usually have about 12 or 14, and I think that, we do like to play fast, so you're going to have some turnovers. But anytime you have 29 turnovers, especially to the best team in the league, they're going to make you pay for it.
But you knew going out on this trip as well you were going to be a little bit shorthanded. You got 3 starters that didn't make the trip. I think 5 total players that didn't make the trip. And when you don't have your starting point guard out there, that's really an extension of you and the coaching staff.
Yeah, there's no question. We had 9 players suited up, and the day before I had somebody go down with an ankle and thought we were going to go to 8. So I thought about putting in some of our assistant coaches, see if we could fly with that a little bit. But, hopefully we'll have most of the players back this week, and it's been a tough year. I think we haven't had everybody playing very many games, and I think we have a lot of games left to play, and I think that we can turn this thing around. We can get everybody out on the floor.
And, you know, speaking of starters missing games, you've got a total of 3 that have missed a total of 22 games. That's a lot.
Absolutely. You know, we had these last 4 games without our top 2 leading scorers as well, and I think that makes a difference. We've had some injuries. We've had a couple of player suspensions. We've had a lot of things going on, I think, this year, so hopefully we can settle down and get everybody back.
Arkansas State, your 2 leading scorers, 12 points apiece, Morgan Jackson and Haley Guerin, probably playing more minutes than they're used to playing, but that's what happens when you're not traveling with a full squad. I think they played 30 and 36 minutes, respectively.
Absolutely. You know, they've been in this program and they know what we're doing, and they're competing and trying to make our basketball team better. We're just a little bit shorthanded. We've got to get everybody back.
All right, so then you head on to Little Rock to take on UALR in the lovely Jack Stevens Center, 59-32 the final score. They jump out early. And again, by this point, you know, you've already played 1 game at Arkansas State, and now you're going in against, what, the 3rd place team in the league.
Yeah. Arkansas Little Rock has been one of the best defensive teams all year long, you know, and since we've been here. I knew that we were going to struggle to run our offenses as well, but you know, it was crazy. They jumped out on us early. We got down, but you know, I looked up and it was like 19-7, or I was like, we're not down that much. You know, let's come on, and they finished out the first half strong and built that lead up, and I think that hurt us the last couple of minutes of the first half, and then they kept it going.
And when you play a team that's like that, I mean, a team that's so defensive oriented, when you're struggling to score, and this is 1 + 1 = 2, it just makes for a long night.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the longest games, really, that I've coached. You know, they didn't score a lot of points. I thought actually defensively we were pretty good.
Yeah.
We mixed up some of it. I think our zone took away some things that they like to do, and then we mixed it up to a little bit of 1-3-1 zone, and I think it kind of threw them off. So defensively we were good enough. We just didn't score.
Again, 18 points off of 18 turnovers. So basically, you know, do the math, a point per turnover. And then they were scoring, you know, they scored a total of 59-32 the final. Almost half of them, they're coming inside the paint. So they were able to hurt us, you know, from both inside and outside.
Yeah, absolutely. They were able to get some offensive boards and putbacks, and I think we wore down in the second half. Late in the second half, they were able to penetrate and kick for some easy shots as well. So we'll regroup.
Well, you look at the standings right now, and as I said, not easy to go on the road in the Sun Belt Conference when you're looking for a win to have to go to Arkansas, because that's the 1st and 3rd place team in the league with Louisiana Lafayette right in between. The nice thing is you're back here at home this week. We got the Texas teams coming in, Texas State and Texas Arlington, and you know, hopefully getting back in the sports arena will work well for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we'll watch film and see what we did well and what we need to work on, definitely. And, you know, it's different every time you go to play a team for the second time. You know, your players are familiar with them after playing, and it makes it a little bit easier doing the scouting report. Now you just have to change a couple of things. Obviously, we were able to beat Texas Arlington. Texas State jumped out on us really quick. And we were able to come back in that game, but ran out of time, really. So I think we'll be ready to play for both those teams. Both really good teams as well. You know, the Sun Belt is really good from top to bottom. You don't have any give-me's in this conference, and so it's been kind of a crazy year.
Well, they're big games as well. If you look at the standings, everybody fighting to get to New Orleans to the Sun Belt tournament. The bottom 4 teams all have identical conference records.
Yeah.
So these are big games.
Absolutely, and the 5th one, Arlington, they're 3-6. They've won 3 as well. So a lot of us right there at the bottom, 3-7. So, you know, 10 games left to play. That's a lot of basketball left.
You know, when you look at the league, this is our, 3rd year in the Sun Belt Conference, coming out of the Colonial Athletic Association. And again, you guys have been racked, you know, with injuries and what have you this year. But, you know, in this run through the league, you feel like this team's getting more and more adapted to playing at this level in the Sun Belt with what you're seeing night in and night out from these teams?
I think so. I definitely think that we've learned a lot in the last couple of years as far as the style. You know, this league is very good defensively.
Yeah.
You know, they make it hard. There are a lot of low-scoring games with the exception of the Troy game. Troy usually has high-scoring games. But everybody else, really, they'll be in the 50s or be in the 40s even. And You know, defensively, a lot of people are different too. There are a lot that play man, there are a lot that play zone, so you've got to be ready to go against everybody. But, you know, a lot of people play four guards as well, and really is an athletic league. Defensively, they get after you, and really with four guards, teams are really quick. And then there are several teams that have a big girl in the middle that they take care of it if they get beat on the outside and take care of blocking shots on the inside.
One of the bright spots this year has been your freshman point guard, Madison Newby. She's got 96 total assists. She leads the Sun Belt Conference in that category, so 4 away from 100. That's a magical number for her, being a freshman.
Right. Madison's been really great from the very beginning. She is, you know, she's from Archer. She's used to winning, and that makes a difference. I think there are definitely some things she needs to work on to continue to get better over the next 4 years, but she's very determined. She wants to win, and I think she helps other players get better. But you can tell there are certain times in certain games that she takes over too. Late in some games, she's helped us win some close ones. Very aggressive driving and defensively as well. But you know, she is a very good passer as well, and you know, if we can get rid of those turnovers, we'll be in great shape.
All right, Coach, you ready for some questions from the Georgia State fan base?
Absolutely.
All right, the cameras of the Georgia State Sports Update, as they do each and every week, have crisscrossed the campus here at Georgia State. Right now, we have questions for women's basketball coach Sharon Baldwin-Tenner.
Hi, I'm Maya Gordon. Coach, I'm sure that during the season, basketball takes up the majority of your time, but what do you like to do to relax?
There is no question basketball is a full-time job, no doubt, and you know, we play on Thursdays and Saturdays. I also have 2 kids that are playing basketball right now. They play on Saturdays as well. I'm able to see some of their games and actually go see some of their practices through the week. That's mostly what I do. There are occasions, you know, on Sundays we go to church and then sometimes have a family meal on Sunday afternoon. But, you know, during basketball season, it does take up most of our time. I get a workout in every once in a while. Not as much as I'd like, of course, but, you know, we try to head over to the Student Rec Center as well and try to stay focused on winning basketball games.
Hi, I'm Brianna Allen, a journalism major at Georgia State University. Coach, is there a game or 2 games from throughout your career that stand out from others?
The games that have stood out to me, actually, we've had one this year. I thought our win at Stetson right before Christmas was a huge win for us. Stetson had won 30-something on their home court, had been to postseason several years in a row, and I thought we played together as a team. We went to overtime. We buckled down, won defensively, and were able to hit some big shots as well. Another one is probably at Arkansas State a couple years back. I thought we went in there and really played together well. Arkansas State has a great program and great team, and we were able to upset them at their place.
My name is Nia Tippett, and I'm a journalism student at Georgia State University. And Coach, I was wondering, when your team is on the road, do you ever take them somewhere special, like a restaurant or a tourist shop?
When we're on the road, we actually try to do a lot of different things and show them, because there are different parts of the country that we'll go to that maybe some of them had not been able to go, and they may not have the opportunity to go again. Actually, this last trip we went to Memphis, we actually got out and went to the Lorraine Hotel for the players to see. Most of them had never been there or seen that. In D.C., we actually did a bus tour and made sure we saw a lot of different sites. But, you know, I think it's more about basketball when you go to different parts, and it also can be an educational and learning experience for our basketball players.
Well, Coach, appreciate it. Good questions, good answers.
Thank you.
Good luck this week with Texas coming in. Texas State Thursday and Texas Arlington on Saturday.
Thank you so much.
All right, I want to thank women's head basketball coach Sharon Baldwin-Tenner being in studio here with us. Also thanks to men's head coach Ron Hunter. For the entire crew, I'm Dave Cohen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you right here next week in the Georgia State Sports Update.